Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling strangely drained, even though nothing openly hostile was said? The words sounded harmless, the questions seemed innocent, yet something about them unsettled you. That feeling is rarely accidental. Jealousy is one of the few emotions that almost never introduces itself honestly. Very few people will openly admit they envy your progress, your confidence, or your achievements. Instead, jealousy hides behind politeness. It wears a smile, offers compliments, and asks questions that appear harmless on the surface. This is what makes it so dangerous. The truly jealous person understands that direct attacks reveal insecurity, but subtle questions allow them to gather information, test your confidence, and slowly influence your thinking without appearing hostile. Robert Greene often emphasizes that power is rarely exercised through obvious force. It operates through indirect methods, hidden motives, and psychological influence. The same principle applies to envy. Those who are jealous of you rarely expose themselves with criticism first. They expose themselves through curiosity that is not motivated by admiration but by comparison. A person who genuinely wants to learn from you asks questions with respect. They listen carefully, appreciate your experience, and hope to improve themselves. Their questions leave you feeling encouraged because they come from a place of growth. A jealous person, however, asks questions for an entirely different reason. They are not searching for wisdom, they are searching for weaknesses. Every answer you provide becomes another piece of information they can use to compare themselves to you or diminish your accomplishments in their own mind. They are less interested in your success than in discovering why they believe you should not have achieved it. This difference is subtle, but once you recognize it, you begin to see human behavior in an entirely new light. History shows that people have always struggled with the success of others. Ancient philosophers observed that envy grows strongest among those who see themselves as equals. A stranger's success rarely bothers someone, but the success of a friend, colleague, neighbor, or family member can create inner conflict. When someone who started at the same level suddenly rises higher, it forces others to confront uncomfortable questions about their own choices and efforts. Instead of accepting responsibility, many people unconsciously protect their ego by questioning the successful person. Their questions become a defense mechanism, allowing them to avoid confronting their own lack of discipline or ambition. This is why emotional intelligence requires more than simply hearing what people say. It requires understanding why they are saying it. Every conversation has two levels. There is the spoken conversation, and then there is the psychological conversation taking place beneath it. Words are often masks, while intentions reveal the truth. A jealous individual rarely says, "I wish I had what you have." Instead, they ask questions that slowly chip away at your confidence or attempt to reduce the value of your accomplishments. Their goal is not always to harm you directly. Sometimes they simply want to feel better about themselves by making your success seem less impressive. Powerful people understand this hidden language. They remain calm, observe carefully, and refuse to react emotionally. Instead of becoming offended, they become curious. They watch patterns rather than isolated comments. One unusual question means very little, but repeated questioning about your achievements, your confidence, your future, or your decisions often reveals far more than compliments ever could. The person who constantly investigates your life without celebrating your progress is showing you where their attention truly lies. Once you understand that jealousy rarely attacks openly and almost always disguises itself as innocent curiosity, you become far less vulnerable to manipulation and far more aware of the hidden motives that shape human relationships. One of the most revealing questions a jealous person asks is, "How did you get so lucky?" At first glance, it sounds harmless, even complimentary, but if you listen carefully, the question carries a hidden assumption. It quietly dismisses every sacrifice, every late night, every failure, and every lesson that brought you to where you are today. Instead of recognizing your discipline, it credits your success to chance. This is not simply a matter of wording, it is a psychological defense mechanism. People who struggle to accept another person's success often find comfort in believing that success was accidental rather than earned. If your achievements are merely luck, then they never have to question their own lack of effort or commitment. Robert Greene frequently points out that people interpret the success of others through the lens of their own emotions. Someone who values hard work sees discipline behind achievement. Someone filled with envy sees coincidence, favoritism, or luck. This difference reveals more about the observer than the successful person. Jealous individuals often cannot bear the idea that someone they once considered equal has advanced beyond them. Admitting that you earned your position forces them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Perhaps they could have achieved more if they had made different choices. Rather than facing that reality, they reduce your accomplishments to fortunate circumstances. Think about how often successful people hear this phrase. An entrepreneur spends years building a company, taking financial risks, enduring failures, and working long hours, only to hear someone say, "You were lucky to catch the market at the right time." An athlete trains relentlessly for a decade, sacrificing comfort and entertainment, and spectators claim they were simply born talented. A student studies while others waste time, earns top grades, and classmates call them naturally intelligent. In every case, years of invisible effort are replaced with a single convenient explanation: luck. The reason this question is so dangerous is that it subtly pressures you to defend yourself. Many people immediately begin listing every hardship they endured, hoping to prove that they deserve their success. But this is exactly what the jealous person unconsciously wants. They pull you into a conversation where your energy is spent justifying your achievements. Truly confident individuals understand that results speak louder than explanations. They do not feel obligated to convince everyone of their struggles because they know that those determined to dismiss their success will rarely change their minds. There is another reason jealous people rely on the idea of luck. It protects their self-image. If they admitted that your success came from persistence, patience, and self-control, they would have to admit that they chose a different path. That realization is painful. Calling your achievement luck allows them to preserve the comforting belief that circumstances, not choices, determine outcomes. It is easier to blame fortune than to accept responsibility. This is why wise people never become defensive when someone minimizes their accomplishments. They simply smile, continue improving, and allow consistent success to become the only answer that truly matters. The second question jealous people often ask sounds surprisingly supportive at first. Are you sure you can handle that? Most people hear these words and assume the speaker is simply expressing concern. But timing and intention matter far more than the words themselves. When this question appears just as you are about to accept a promotion, launch a business, begin a new relationship, or pursue a bold opportunity, it often carries a hidden purpose. Instead of strengthening your confidence, it quietly introduces doubt. Robert Greene repeatedly explains that influence is most effective when it is subtle. A direct attack can be resisted, but a carefully planted seed of uncertainty can grow inside the mind long after the conversation has ended. Human beings naturally question themselves before taking a significant risk. Every important decision involves uncertainty. Deep down, everyone wonders whether they are capable enough, prepared enough, or deserving enough. Jealous people instinctively recognize this vulnerable moment. Rather than encouraging you to move forward, they reinforce the fear that already exists within you. They don't have to stop your progress themselves. They only have to make you hesitate. A few moments of hesitation can become weeks of procrastination, and weeks can eventually become years of missed opportunities. Notice how supportive people speak during these moments. They acknowledge challenges, but they also remind you of your strengths. They say things like, "You've worked hard for this," or "I know you'll figure it out." Their words increase your confidence because they genuinely want to see you succeed. Jealous individuals, however, focus almost entirely on the possibility of failure. They highlight everything that could go wrong, every obstacle you might face, and every reason you might not be ready. Their concern often appears logical, which is why it can be so convincing. Yet beneath that concern lies an emotional desire to see you remain where you are instead of moving ahead. Throughout history, countless ambitious people have faced this kind of discouragement. Inventors were told their ideas were impossible. Artists were warned that they would never make a living. Entrepreneurs were advised to stay in safe jobs rather than take risks. Many of these warnings came from people who believed they were being realistic, but others came from individuals who unconsciously feared being left behind. Growth changes relationships. When one person evolves, everyone around them is forced to compare their own progress. Some become inspired, while others become uncomfortable. The most dangerous part of this question is that it disguises itself as kindness. If someone openly said, "I hope you fail," you would ignore them immediately. But when they ask, "Are you sure you can handle that?" you may begin arguing with yourself instead of recognizing the source of the doubt. Once your own mind starts repeating their words, they no longer need to influence you because you are doing their work for them. Powerful individuals learn to separate genuine advice from disguised insecurity. They evaluate criticism based on the credibility and intentions of the person giving it. If the advice comes from someone who has achieved what you hope to achieve, it deserves careful consideration. If it comes from someone who constantly questions every ambitious step you take while rarely encouraging your growth, their words should be viewed with caution. Confidence is built by action, not by waiting until every fear disappears. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not those who never experience doubt, but those who refuse to let someone else's hidden jealousy become the voice that controls their decisions. The fourth question jealous people often ask is deceptively simple. Who helped you? On the surface, this seems like a perfectly reasonable question. After all, no one achieves success entirely alone. Every successful person has mentors, teachers, friends, or opportunities that played a role in their journey. But when this question comes from someone driven by envy, its purpose is very different. It is not asked to understand your journey, it is asked to reduce your accomplishment. Instead of accepting that your skills, discipline, and persistence brought you success, they search for another explanation that protects their own ego. Robert Greene teaches that people naturally seek explanations that preserve their self-image. If they admit you earned your success through consistent effort, they must also admit that they could have made different choices in their own lives. That realization is uncomfortable. It is far easier to believe that someone else opened every door for you than to accept that you created opportunities through hard work and determination. By focusing on who helped you, they quietly shift attention away from your ability and toward external factors. You will often notice this behavior when someone begins asking whether you had special connections, influential friends, wealthy relatives, or powerful supporters. They seem more interested in discovering hidden advantages than understanding the habits and mindset that actually produced your results. Their questions reveal an unwillingness to believe that ordinary discipline can lead to extraordinary outcomes. This allows them to protect the comforting belief that success depends on circumstances rather than personal responsibility. Confident people react differently. Instead of searching for excuses, they study successful individuals to learn useful lessons. They ask, "What can I improve?" rather than "Who made your success possible?" This mindset creates growth instead of resentment. Jealous people look for shortcuts that explain away achievement, while ambitious people look for principles they can apply to their own lives. The wisest response to this kind of questioning is quiet confidence. There is no need to defend every step of your journey or convince others that your success is deserved. Your work, your consistency, and your results speak louder than any explanation ever could. Those who truly wish to understand will respect your efforts, while those determined to dismiss them will always find another excuse. Never waste your energy trying to satisfy people who have already decided not to believe in your ability. The fifth question jealous people often ask is one that sounds the most exciting and supportive. What's your next move? At first, it feels like genuine interest. They smile, congratulate you on your recent success, and then quickly shift the conversation toward your future plans. Most people take this as a sign that the other person is invested in their growth, but Robert Greene reminds us that not everyone who shows interest has good intentions. Curiosity is not always admiration. Sometimes it is intelligence gathering. The more people know about your plans, the more they can compare themselves to you, compete with you, imitate your ideas, or even interfere before your vision has the chance to become reality. Throughout history, many ambitious people have learned that revealing their plans too early often creates unnecessary resistance. A goal that is still developing is fragile. Like a seed beneath the soil, it needs time, patience, and protection before it becomes strong enough to withstand storms. When you announce every ambition before taking action, you invite opinions from people who may not truly want to see you succeed. Some will criticize your idea, others will discourage you, and a few may even attempt to copy your strategy or quietly compete against you. What began as an exciting dream suddenly becomes surrounded by doubt and outside pressure. Jealous individuals often ask about your next move because they are measuring themselves against you. They want to know whether you are getting further ahead, entering a new opportunity, or achieving something they have not yet accomplished. Information gives them a sense of control. If they know your direction, they can prepare their own response. This is why powerful people throughout history understood the value of mystery. They revealed results more often than intentions. They allowed their actions to surprise people rather than giving everyone a preview of what they were building. This does not mean becoming secretive with everyone. Trusted mentors, loyal friends, and supportive family members can provide valuable advice and encouragement. The key is learning to distinguish between those who genuinely care about your success and those who simply want access to your plans. Not every question deserves a detailed answer, and not every person deserves unlimited insight into your future. Real confidence does not seek constant validation by announcing every goal. It quietly focuses on execution. The most successful people often speak less about what they intend to do, and more through the results they eventually produce. Your future becomes far more powerful when it is protected by patience, careful observation, and disciplined silence rather than exposed to every curious mind that asks, "What's your next move?" The greatest lesson hidden behind these 5 questions is not that you should become suspicious of everyone around you. It is that you should become a better observer of human nature. Robert Greene often explains that power belongs to those who see people as they are, not as they wish them to be. Most individuals pay attention only to words, while overlooking tone, timing, repetition, and intention. Yet these subtle details reveal far more than direct statements ever could. Jealousy rarely announces itself with open hostility. Instead, it disguises itself as curiosity, concern, or friendly conversation. The person smiling at you may genuinely celebrate your success, or they may quietly be measuring themselves against you. The difference becomes clear when you consistently observe their behavior instead of reacting to isolated moments. Every successful person eventually discovers that achievement changes relationships. Some people become inspired by your progress and ask thoughtful questions because they sincerely want to learn. They celebrate your victories, encourage your ambitions, and remain happy when you continue to grow. Others react differently. Your success reminds them of opportunities they ignored, goals they abandoned, or risks they never dared to take. Instead of confronting those uncomfortable feelings, they unconsciously direct their attention toward you. They begin comparing every step of your journey with their own. Their questions become less about understanding and more about reducing the emotional gap they feel between your life and theirs. This is why emotional discipline is one of the greatest forms of strength. You do not need to argue with jealous people, expose them, or prove your worth. In fact, doing so often gives them exactly what they want: your time, your attention, and your emotional energy. Powerful individuals understand that not every opinion deserves a response and not every question deserves a detailed explanation. Silence can be more effective than defense. Calm confidence communicates far more than endless justification. When people are determined to misunderstand you, no amount of explanation will satisfy them. When people genuinely respect you, very little explanation is necessary. Your responsibility is not to manage other people's emotions. You cannot control whether someone admires you, envies you, or misunderstands your success. What you can control is your focus, your discipline, and your ability to remain committed to your purpose. Continue improving your skills, protect your peace, choose your inner circle wisely, and let your results speak louder than your words. In the end, jealous people will always have questions because they are searching for reasons to explain your success. Wise people, however, spend less time answering those questions and more time building a life that requires no defense, no approval, and no permission from anyone else.